and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things. And today I am giving you my June wrap-up. This past June was Clear Your Shit, so this is my Clear Your Shit wrap-up as well. I actually did complete Clear Your Shit. I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't, so I was really glad that I did, because that would have been unfortunate for me to not finish my own readathon in the third year of the mini readathon. So at least I got it done right up until the last day too. I really pushed my luck with that one, but I did it. I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the stats here. Not a whole lot more that needs to be said. I read a total of 25 books in June. Of those books, I read 6,935 pages, and I listened for 16 hours and 10 minutes. Not very long. I don't even have enough to say how many days worth that was. I purchased exactly one book, and I reread 5 books. My average rating for the month was a 4.0, very impressive and high rating overall. My average pages per day was 139.4, and my average hours of listening per day was 8 hours and 5 minutes. And the short audio time will make sense in just a second. For formats, I read 14 physical books, 9 ebooks, and only 2 audiobooks. So we can assume that the 8 hours per day was literally just those 2 audiobooks. For the pages, I read 3 books that were under 100 pages, and a lot of those are novellas, little short stories for the October Day books. I know exactly what those are from. I read 3 books between the pages of 101 and 200, 2 books between 201 and 300, 8 books between 301 and 400, 2 books between 401 and 500, and 4 books between 501 and 600. I guess I said big books only this month, not really, but I did read quite a bit more lengthy books than I normally do, surprisingly. For audiences, 15 of them were adult, 7 of them were YA, and 3 of them were middle grade. This is a higher young adult count than my counts have been lately. I think it's because I was rereading first books in series and then reading their sequel, because I had the advanced reader copy, or the sequel had come out and I purchased it and then just never read it. Whatever the case may be, I was doing a lot of that. For the genres, 15 were fantasy, 4 were horror, 2 were thrillers, 2 were general fiction, 1 was sci-fi, and 1 was romance. And that's all of my stats. For the genres, you can actually see some of the book blanket here. I do plan on filming a kind of wrap-up of the first 6 months of the book blanket, like an in-depth sort of update on what's going on with the book blanket, so you can kind of see how all of that has come together, which I'm really excited about, especially because 6 months actually got from bookshelf to wall, which was my end goal. I did want it to be that size, so I sized it out all really well, and it'll look good when I do the next 6 months across the bottom. I'm not going to get too much into that though, because we need to save it for the crochet video, right? Anyway, moving on. So that was my stats. Super quick, super to the point this week, this month. I read a lot. I expected to read a lot, but I read a lot more, I think, than I really thought I would, because I read a lot of the October Day short stories. There are now, like, as I'm moving on to the next books in the series, there are now going to be like 5 or 6 short stories in between books, so this is going to pace out how fast I'm reading these books again. But I also was surprised at my reading because of the road trips and the amount of like social events that I had to do that kind of took up my time and made it difficult to kind of read. But I still managed to read a little bit every single day, which is kind of the point, right? People ask me how I read so much, and I read a little bit every single day, and I really think that that is how you get it done. But anyway, let's talk about my top books of the month. First up, we have Last to Leave the Room by Caitlin Starling. This is an advanced reader copy, and it comes out in October, I think. October or November. This is a horror book, very Twilight Zone-ish, I guess. I've never really seen Twilight Zone, but I've always seen things compared to Twilight Zone, and based off of that information, I think that applies. Essentially, someone works in this underground stuff, and in her own basement, all of a sudden, a door appears. She can't open the door. That's stressful. But then her doppelganger walks out the door that she can't even open. That's also really fucking stressful. Don't like that, you know? Seems real stressful. Seems like maybe not the moves. Not a good time. But that's that. That's that book. I really had a fun time reading it. I ended up reading it in like one day, and I had meant to read it across 3 or 4 days. That's my usual shtick. And I ended up reading it all in one go, and I haven't written the review yet. I really need to write the review, and that was kind of my like rule with this Clear Your Shit, was I was gonna write the reviews before I moved on to the next book, but I finished this book so quickly that I was like, I'm not ready to write the review for this yet. And I stand by that. I'm still not ready to write the review for this yet. I need to, because it's an incredible book. I had such a fun time reading it. But I'm not ready to write the review yet. But it is my top book for the month. Next up, we have one I didn't expect. This book I saw recommended by Allison Pages, and then Hardback Hoarder, I think, also mentioned this book as a horror book. And it is horror and also contemporary and also really fucking stressful. And that's going to be Tinfoil Butterfly by Rachel Eve Moulton. I really enjoyed this book. I was deeply invested, deeply stressed out. But I think that the ending kind of was a cop-out, so I couldn't give it like a full 5 stars, but I was stressed out the entire book. A lot of it is because creepy children are creepy children, and they're gonna stay horrifying to me. I think that like you don't even have to do much to make children creepy. They're just inherently kind of horrifying. So I think that that was a really good take. I can't even explain to you what Tinfoil Butterfly is really about, because it would end up inherently spoiling a lot of the book. And the way that it is explained is not well, but I do want to give trigger warnings for child abuse, transphobia, miscarriages, drug addiction, and suicide ideation, and self-harm. All of those things. There's probably more, but it is also a horror book, so some of those things you kind of just have to expect. But those are the trigger warnings that I have to give for this book. I do want to say that everything is described really graphically. But it was really well written, and I had a lot of fun reading it. That's a really weird way of describing it, because it wasn't fun. I was very stressed out, and it is high stakes the entire book. The entire book is at level 10, and it's a short book, so that worked out. Sometimes I don't like that because the book's long, and then eventually you get burned out on it. This was a short book, and so it worked out well. Next we have Where Echoes Die by Courtney Gold. This is another advanced reader copy. I think it's out now though, or it will be coming out soon. Courtney Gold writes really fantastic gay horror. And first off, Courtney Gold openly uses the word lesbian in her books when describing her characters, and they openly describe themselves as lesbians, and I do love when we just straight up use the word, right? But also, this book is about a weird town where a girl's mom like kept going until she died, and her memory kept getting worse and worse, and the girls are feeling weirdly pulled to the city, and like things are fucking weird here. Things are really weird here. And is it a cult? Is it a scientific experiment? Is this Lost to the Island Part 2? What the fuck is going on? You do find out. You actually do get all of your questions answered by the end of the book, which is also something I really like about Courtney Gold's writing, is that she answers all of your questions by the end of the book. You do not leave the end of her book going, well, okay, but what about this? You don't. And if there is something that is not explained explicitly, the characters at least are like, I won't know about this, and that's okay because I've grown by X, Y, and Z. And so there's still some closure to that. It's not just like, did you forget about this? What happened here? I have questions. What's going on? Those are my top 3 books for the month. Now we have to talk about the worst book of the month, and it is also an advanced reader copy. And I always feel bad putting an advanced reader copy as the worst book of the month, but I think I've finally learned my lesson about domestic thrillers. So the worst book this month is What the Neighbor Saw by Melissa Adelman. The lesson I have learned is if they compare it to Desperate Housewives or The Real Housewives or any reality TV franchise, I need to skip it because I'm not gonna fucking enjoy it. This book was like, by the time I almost DNF'd at 80% in because I just honestly did not give a fuck. We had so many long drawn out explanations of like the house renovations and their yoga classes. I don't know if they had yoga classes, but like, and they're doing this rich person thing and this rich person party, and these women are drunk and this is what they're doing and this is how they're talking and this is how they interact with each other and this is the power imbalance and blah, blah, blah. I honestly at one point straight up forgot that somebody's husband got murdered, and that was what the point of the story was. I forgot. I dead ass forgot that that was part of the plot because of this inane, incessant, this is everything that's going on. Why? There was just so much filler. It felt like the world's longest filler episode. It felt like when you're watching Desperate Housewives and they do one of those what if episodes. I hate those episodes. I would skip those episodes. I fucking found those episodes annoying as fuck. That's what this felt like. An episode where it's just all filler, like a holiday special. You do not give a fuck. Where's the plot development? Oh, it's in the next episode. Except for this, it was like, oh, it's in the next 100 pages. You can skip. I didn't skip because it's a book and that's not how it works. I wish I could have skipped because I would fast forwarded through the majority of this fucking book. But I've learned my lesson now. I now know that if a thriller compares itself to these things, I'm not going to enjoy it. If you found a thriller that compares itself to these things and it's good, tell me about it because I don't fucking believe you. And I want to enjoy these books. I love these as TV shows. I think they're great as TV shows. But when it comes to reading, I'm like, I want to bang my head on the wall. I'm so bored. So that was definitely the worst book that I read this month. Obviously, I did not have a good time. But I think that overall this was a really good month for reading. Obviously, my average rating was a 4.0, which is really fucking high for me. I will say some of that is because a lot of it was October Day books and the short stories, but I still really enjoyed it. I didn't even count all of the short stories that I read because I just didn't feel like it. I just made sure that they counted if they were like in Goodreads or something because I didn't want to have those counts be slightly off from one another. But I'm pleased with the way that it all came about. I'm pleased with how I did finish my readathon, and I'm excited about starting the final like plot prompts and figuring things out for the next readathon. I am actually going to be getting the gist of it over to Art either today or tomorrow so that she can start looking at it for making prompts. And our voting for the weapons ends this month. I think it is tied though, so I'm gonna have to figure something out with that. But overall, I'm just really pleased with how it all came about. Also this year, it seemed like the readathon really like managed itself, and that helped me immensely because I don't have the full capacity to manage the readathon anymore if it required as much attention as it used to. And I'm really glad with the way that it kind of managed itself. I do still need to update the website and stuff, but I will be doing all of that and updating on Patreon. So if you ever want to know what's going on with the readathon, when I'm planning what I'm doing, the Patreon is in the link down below. If you ever just want to support me or whatever, the Patreon is listed down below. But that is my wrap up for June. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books and you enjoyed them, please let me know. Or if you're going to read them, let me know. Again, please monitor, read people's reviews for Tinfoil Butterfly and see what they say for the trigger warnings because I'm not very good at remembering all of those things. I try. Again, if you know a thriller that compares itself to those TV shows and is actually good, tell me about it because I probably don't believe you, but I'd love to give it a go. But if you did not enjoy this video, let me know in the comments down below how I can make it better for you. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time unless I'm taking a social media break, and I will see you guys next week, or later this week actually, on Thursday for my vlog. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.